Oh boy, ladies and gentlemen, I tell you, some days you can be tested. Some days, isn't it funny when, right? It's the first thing in the morning that something is like, wow, can be frustrating or whatever it is, and then it kind of sets the tone. But here we are today, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, and we are continuing part two of the mental universe. The universe is mental, held in the mind of the all. So, is our test and our opportunity, our challenge to remember that all is mind. The all is mind, and we are a part of the all. So if we are frustrated, then we must be seeing the all from a finite perspective, rather than from the perspective of the infinite living mind, which is outside of time and space. See, there's been talked about before. Oh, yeah, and thank you for joining me and being here. We are continuing our series in Hermetic philosophy, the Kybalion, and chapter number 5, the mental universe. So, with that being said, last week we did part 1 of this chapter, discovering the nature of the all and the nature of the mind of the all, or the universe being mental within the mind of the all. But we asked those questions and had those questions answered. And so, with that being said, I'm going to touch on a few parts that might help us get back to where we left off last time, and then we will continue the second half of this and finish up chapter number 5 of the Kybalion, the mental universe. And we're reading this for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind so that through an increased awareness, we can hopefully increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. That makes me think, though, that sometimes, see, the teachings of the Tao Te Ching and the sage and enlightenment and all of this would say that I can choose peace over this, over anything. You can find peace if you can create the ability within yourself, like I always say at the end of each one of these videos, to bring happiness to life rather than seeking it as a result, then all those things that we would seem to have to struggle through in life, we no longer really have to suffer from them. But the question I'm asking here is, do we still struggle through them? Because they are challenges for us to hopefully go through and grow through as a soul, as a spirit, as whoever we are behind the mask, the persona that we are given here when we come into this temporary human experience, rather than a human experience who every now and then has a temporary spiritual experience. But this temporary human experience as a spiritual being, and to some people that just might sound like, okay, this guy's ridiculous. He just thinks we're all spiritual beings. But I mean, what are we? Really? Do you think that there's nothing after all this? Because it would seem to be that every culture throughout all of history or all of time and all of the greatest minds throughout all of everything, whether it be every culture, every religious philosophy, spiritual philosophy, every age and eon, we all come to the same conclusion that there is this thing outside of ourselves, or something that maybe we are connected to, something that is responsible for all of this seemingly intelligent design that has zero explanation and zero obvious workman to our eyes behind such going-ons in reality, such as the beating of our hearts and the digestion of our food and the blowing of the winds and all of these other natural phenomenon that for us to even consider thinking about having any part of controlling would be a folly. So why am I saying this rant? Well, it comes back to this idea, is there is this thing, and many cultures call it God. You can call it the Tao, you can call it Buddha, Yahweh, Atum, Great Spirit, Grand Organized Design, God. But it seems that the names are meaningless, because if it is all names, then it would be no singular name. So debate would once again be a folly, I think. So this brings me back to the point of the frustration. Is it wrong to be challenged by life? And is that different from being frustrated with life? And I would say yes. But I would also ask, is it natural? Well, these are all questions for the subjects that I love to explore here on this channel. However, today, that rant brings me to the subject of this thing that is often called God, which in Hermetic philosophy is referenced as the one God, or Atum, meaning the one God, or in the Kybalion here, the All. In the Corpus Hermeticum, I believe it was referenced as the one God. In the Hermetica, it was Atum. However, I could double check that to make sure, but you're getting the gist of what I'm saying. And so the question was, what is the All? And if the very first principle of Hermeticism is that the All, or rather the universe, is mental, the principle of mentalism. There we go. That's what I was thinking. The All is mind, and the universe is mental. Then that brings us to this question. Tell us more, as Asclepius put it. Tell me more, O Thoth or Hermes. What is this all? And how is the all mind? And what is the nature of the mental universe? And usually Hermes would say, have you not listened? This has been described in previous dialogues. But for now, I will break it down more sensibly for you. That was why I always loved Hermes and Asclepius's back and forths in the Hermetica. If you missed those, we did that whole series on this channel. They usually have a funny way. Like Hermes will go on for 10 pages describing the deepest esoteric, occult, philosophical, mystical understandings of the nature of reality, and then Asclepius is like, but what do you mean? Which is, I think, where we all are. And so if it's hard to understand whatever is going on in our lives, or if it's hard to understand this deep spiritual philosophy, I think that is very natural for us to experience as a part of this journey. So take a deep breath, relax, and get ready to dive into part number 2 of the mental universe, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, chapter number 5 of the Kybalion. The all is spirit. But what is spirit? Well, this question cannot be answered for the reason that its definition is practically that of the all. So if we're going to call spirit or the all something different, then that's fine, but its definition is pretty much the same because it is inexplicable, which cannot be explained or defined, because defining it, I'll keep going here without rambling. Spirit is simply a name that we give to this name. Once again, Tao, God, Atum, Buddha, whatever we give. I don't really think actually that people ascribe the name Buddha to God, but I was just trying to think of names of these, really important, sometimes, but you know what I'm meaning there. Ra, Allah, there we go. Anyways, was Krishna? Yeah, Krishna was a god. Viracocha? Isn't it weird, the ah sound that keeps coming through? I had a good comment about that before. However, so when we speak of the all, it's important to remember that it is simply a name given to the highest conception of what has been described and understood here in this Hermetic philosophy, or this discovery of the Kybalion, as infinite, not finite, infinite living mind, which would be separate or different than finite life and mind. See, we have finite life and mind, which is great. That's a wonderful as above, so below, a correspondence to the infinite living mind. So we have little minds as the mind of God. And this was talked about in the Hermetica in the chapter Man is a Marvel. It's amazing because we have little versions of the mind of God so as to contemplate Atum, the all, and then appreciate it. And then it talked about how we can go places with our mind, non-physically. And I wasn't sure if it was talking about astral travel or just simply imagining being on the beach and having this unique ability. Now, let me continue. Because life and mind, this infinite living mind, is the highest conception of what we would call God or the all, or from the perspective of this Hermetic philosophy, it means the real essence underlying all things. It means living mind as much superior to life and mind as we know them. And so, as the latter are superior, so life and mind are superior to energy and matter. As you can see here in the physical realm, energy and matter manifests itself, and then we have life and mind more on a metaphysical realm. And then we have this infinite living mind beyond that which we would consider metaphysical. However, once again, this is all my own thoughts along with what is being said here. And so, once again, I am no master of all of this. I am just a studier, a philosopher of my own right, I might say. And I like to see where this leads my thoughts because I find this information very important for the future of not only my own life personally, but the future of many lives and that of humanity. So that one day we may hopefully have a society of enlightened men and women who have been freed from the structure we now find ourselves in. However, that's a different subject. But see, now that we know that it cannot be named and it cannot be described, spirit transcends our understanding. The all, Atum, God, transcends our understanding. But we are justified in thinking about it. And we are justified in thinking of spirit or God as infinite living mind. And at the same time, also acknowledging, of course, that we cannot fully understand it. And so, it becomes a question. We must either do this, acknowledge that we cannot fully understand it, and still attempt to use the law of correspondence, which we'll get to in a second, to discover it, or we must stop thinking of the matter at all. We must either acknowledge that we cannot fully understand it, but stop thinking of it at all. And so, let us proceed now to the consideration of the nature of the universe as a whole and in its parts. Well, firstly, we ask, what is the universe? We have seen that there can be nothing outside of God or the all. And so, then, is the universe the all? No, the Kybalion says, this cannot be, because the universe seems to be made up of many and is constantly changing. And as we have discovered in previous chapters of this, only that which is never changing is real, because the only thing that never changes is change itself, or that which is responsible for change. And so that would mean that God or the all is outside of change and unchanging. I mean, all this is described in different ways in the other books here, and they will be referenced and linked below in the video description. So, like, all of this philosophy leads up to where we are now, and understanding kind of, like I always say, pure philosophy, well, actually, as Hermes says, and I remind us, the way that we can even slightly understand this is a pure philosophy is a spiritual striving through a constant contemplation, a meditation, a ponderation, a rumination, a thinking upon, so that we may come to attain true knowledge of Atum, the one God. Now, with that being said, the universe is made up of many, and so is constantly changing, and in other ways, it does not measure up to the ideas, the comparative ideas, the collective understanding throughout the ages. Think of the city of Alexandria, which was the ultimate melting pot of every possible. Let me try to get there. We're right here. Rich in esoteric knowledge, Pythagoreanism, Chaldean oracles, Greek myths, Platonic, Stoic philosophy, mystic Judaism and Christianity, Greek mystery schools, Zoroastrianism, astrology, alchemy, Buddhism, the ancient Egyptian spiritual philosophies, practiced, discussed, and studied and compared side by side in the golden age of Alexandria, ladies and gentlemen, and probably many, many more. And so you can imagine with all of that, that we might have come to a pretty decent understanding using the wisdom of the ages. Now, somebody might think, oh, they were just a bunch of heretics, so let's burn the temples. Was it really even human beings who thought such things? Or were they under some kind of influence of darkness to bring down the light and enlightenment of humanity? I don't know. That's just me getting riled up about this subject, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you for being here. Hopefully, you're getting value and consider subscribing. Now, if this means, if all of this wisdom of the ages that's been collected throughout time and the little bit that we still have left over from the destroyed knowledge of the Holy Empire, now, sorry, having fun. If what we've learned from all that the universe or God, the all, cannot be the universe because the universe is made up of many and is changing and in other ways does not measure up to the wisdom of the ages that teaches us that this cannot be possible, or the ideas that we are compelled to accept based upon the wisdom of the ages regarding the all, as stated in previous lessons. In our research, hopefully, so far in our entire lives leading up to this point. But this is all debatable, so I'd love to hear what you think. Leave me your thoughts in the comments section below. And thank you for being here once again. So then if the universe isn't the all, then it must be nothing, such as inevitable conclusion of the mind at first thought. Well, this doesn't satisfy the question, ladies and gentlemen, for we are sensible of the existence of the universe. I mean, obviously we are here, and we are here. Just think of the time. You don't have to think about it. It is right now. It is right here. So if we're sensible of the existence of the universe, then if the universe is neither God, the all, or nothing, then what possibly can it be? Well, let us examine this question further. If the universe exists at all, or seems to exist, it must proceed in some way from the all, or be created by God, which is what I always thought anyways. I'm glad we're exploring these questions, though, because they're good questions. I don't know if there's bad questions, but that can be debated as well. Now, are we recording? That would be so sad. Yes, we are recording. It must be a creation of the all, but as something can never come from nothing, from what could the all have created the universe? Well, some philosophers have answered this question by saying that the all created the universe from itself. But this will not do, for the all cannot be subtracted from or divided, as we have seen, and then again, if this be so, would not each particle in the universe be aware of its being God? The all could not lose its knowledge of itself, of course, nor actually become an atom or blind force or any lowly living thing, as we may be here in the physical, grossest, densest form of reality. Some men indeed realizing that the all is indeed everything, and we are a part of it, come to the falsity of a conclusion that they, the men, existed, have jumped to the conclusion that the all were identical, and they have filled the air with the shouts of, "I am God," which is partially correct. You are a part of God. As the old saying goes, I mean, we did this in the last week's video, but I find it fun to catch up really quick and go through this again because this is all very important. For me, anyways, personally. I mean, if this is just for me, then all right, cool. I'll check out this recording in 10 years and show it to my son or grandson or, whatever, daughter, child. The all, they would begin to think that God is not, they would begin to think that they are God and that they are mighty and immortal, and they have filled the air with, to the amusement of the multitude, which would be, this guy's ridiculous, but also to the sorrow of the sages. Oh, yeah, the saying, "Is it not written in your law that I have said that ye are gods?" And they said that he blasphemed out of the misinterpretation, the claim of the corpuscle that "I am man" would actually be modest in comparison to that of "I am God." But the meaning there is that we are a part of God, as is this table, and this camera, and this microphone, and the tomato plants, and the birds and the trees, and everything that we see. And we are not superior to it, but rather we are keepers, as another part of this philosophy would teach us, that we are to tend to it and keep it. However, that is not today's subject. Today's subject is the mental universe and the nature of reality. I never know what to title these. There's so many subjects in this. But this brings us back to that question. If we know it is undescribable, but we're still we're honoring that fact. What did it say? It said to think or speak of the all for the purposes of thought and understanding. We must acknowledge that we cannot fully understand this because the only other way is to not even think of it at all. And obviously, that's no fun. That's no fun. There's something going on here in reality that we are a part of in another way than just physical reality. And we've all seen that throughout the eons. And so, with that being said, what else can it be? I mean, if the universe, if it be not the all, and not created by the all, having separated itself into fragments, what else can it be made of? This is the great question. Well, this is what brings us to the principle of correspondence. See, some people will ask, why can you talk even about something you do not understand? Why guess about something when 95% of the time you would be wrong? Well, I would argue, have you ever heard of the principle of correspondence? Referenced in Lesson 1. You might be thinking, lesson one, what are you talking about? Well, that was an introduction to the 7 principles of Hermetics. The first principle, which we've spoken a lot about in today's video and last week's video, the principle of mentalism. The all is mind, the universe is mental, which embodies the truth that explains that the all, which is the substantial reality underlying everything we see and know here in reality, is the phenomena of life, matter, and energy, and in short, spirit, which is unknowable, undefinable, and that which may be considered and thought of as a universal, infinite, living mind, which also explains that it is the phenomenal world or universe is a mental creation of the all. And that's what we're getting to the explanation of today. But if we're going to be talking about something that is undefinable and unknowable, then we need to use the second principle of Hermetics, which is the principle of correspondence. What does this principle teach us? Well, as above, so below, and as below, so above. What does that mean? This principle embodies the truth that there is always correspondence between the laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. So that which we experience and can see here in our lowly physical realm should have some form of correspondence through logic and reason to that which is non-physical. This principle embodies the truth that there is always a correspondence between the laws of the functioning of reality, which, never mind, different subject. The laws and phenomena of the various planes of being and life. The old Hermetic axiom is as above, so below, as below, so above. And the grasping of this principle gives one, this is the important part, gives us the means of solving many a paradox and the hidden secret of nature. Because, of course, there are planes beyond our knowing, but we can apply this principle, and when we do apply the principle of correspondence to them, we are able to understand much that would otherwise be unknowable, which is very important because this principle is of a universal application on the various planes of the material, the physical, where we are, the mental, and also, let me get back to it. What was the third one? The mental and the spiritual. Okay, that's where I was going to say. I just didn't want to be wrong there. The material, the mental, and the spiritual. The 3 planes. This is a universal law, and the ancient Hermeticists considered this principle as one of the most important mental instruments by which man, humanity, men and women, us, ladies and gentlemen, was able to pry aside the obstacles which hid from view that which is described as unknown, unknowable, and undefinable. Now, the principle of correspondence must apply to this endeavor to get a glimpse of the working on higher planes by examining those on our own plane, as well as other problems. Let us see, on our own plane of being, how does humanity create? Well, first we create by making something out of outside material. See, last week I said we create with a thought first. It's like most important lesson. Thoughts are things. Now, when we do this, but there are no materials outside of God or the all with which God can create because everything is within. So God can't do it that way. Then secondly, we procreate and create children, self-multiplication. But this can't be done by the all because the all, obviously, as we have learned, or the ancient sages and mystics and philosophers have taught us that the all cannot transfer or subtract and divide itself, nor can it reproduce or multiply itself. So in the first place, there would be a taking away, and in the second case, a multiplication or addition to God. Both thoughts, obviously, to those that ascribe to this philosophy, would be an absurdity, and there is no third way which man creates, right? Face palm, if that's what you're thinking. Yes, there is. We create mentally, ladies and gentlemen. And in doing so, we use no outside materials, nor do we reproduce ourself or divide ourself, and yet our spirit pervades our mental creations. So is that why when you see a piece of art or a creation of any sort, whether it be nothing even close to art, but rather just, I don't know, I mean, you could call anything that is created art, but you know what I mean? Like this, the spirit of the creator pervades the creation. And so, with that being said, following the principle of correspondence, we are justified in considering, not coming to the firm conclusion, but considering, based on as above, so below, that the all creates the universe mentally, in a manner akin to the process whereby we create mental images. And here is where the report of reason tallies precisely with the report of illumined. So that's the point here. The report of logic and reason lines up and correlates to the reports that we've got from people that seem to be mystical and out there, not using logic and reason. But when we can find a correlation between these two, then there's got to be something going on. There's got to be something to this, ladies and gentlemen. So, as shown by the mystics and illumined teachings and writings, such are the teachings of wise men and women, and such was the teaching of Hermes Trismegistus, also known as the Egyptian sage god Thoth. Tahat, the ibis god. Now, once again, we're reading this for purposes of teaching and commentary and expanding the mind so that through this increased awareness, we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. Hopefully. I mean, that's my only purpose. I'm not trying to be a magician here. But if I can influence my life in a positive way through some form of mental transmutation or mental alchemy, then I will do so, as long as it does not go against the will of any other sovereign being. Now, with that being said, we talked about mental transmutation and mental alchemy a couple weeks ago. The art of mental chemistry, mystic psychology. Continuing, though, we create mentally, and so therefore, using correspondence, we can see that the all creates mentally, and the universe is within the mind of the all. So, just as us, the student, may create a universe in our own mind, or create this whole, movies and films and shows that are an entire universe that came from the mind of a creator, an individual. And so, our universe is the creation of a finite mind, whereas the creation of the all is the creation of an infinite living mind. The two are similar in kind, but infinitely different in degree. We shall examine more closely into the process of creation and manifestation as we proceed, but this is not the focus right now. The point is to fix in your mind at this stage that the universe and everything we see and all that is contained within the universe is a mental creation of Atum, of God, of the mind of the all. Verily indeed, the old axiom goes, all is mind. That makes me think of the Simpsons quote, which I messed up last week. I'll probably mess it up again, but what was it? What is mind? Never matter. What is mind? No matter. I don't know. What is matter? No, I want to get this right. What is mind? Never matter. What is matter? Never mind. There we go. Now, but that would be incorrect because matter would be a creation of the mind of the all and be within it. So sorry. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen. We have to take things lightly and be a little bit silly every now and then because it's good. It brings us back down to a more calm space. Sometimes things get to be a little too much. And once again, I will remind us, if you are getting all of this 100%, then you're probably not really grasping a lot of it. And if you are having trouble understanding any of this, then you're probably picking up quite a bit because this is all about the seeds, planting the seeds. And through that, Hermes taught us in the very first words of the Hermetica that a pure philosophy, the way to understand this is through a constant contemplation and spiritual striving to attain the true knowledge. So don't beat yourself up. Give yourself a pat on the back, ladies and gentlemen, because we are the small percentage of people that are here contemplating deeply the true nature of reality and the greater questions of ourselves and the all. So this is where we made it to last week. The all creates in its infinite mind countless universes which exist for aeons of time. And yet to the all, the creation, development, and decline and death of a million universes is as but the time of the twinkling of an eye. The infinite mind of the all is in the womb, no, is the womb of the universe. And so now we come to the last half of chapter number 5, the mental universe. Begins by saying the principle of gender, see lesson 1 and other lessons that will follow, is manifested on all planes of life, material, mental, and spiritual. But as we have said before, gender does not mean sex. Sex is merely a material manifestation of the principle of gender. So once again, you can think about the elements, which is another aspect of Hermetic philosophy, and we have the elements. You have the element of air, and the element of water, and the element of fire, and the element of earth. And then the Akashic principle, or the element of mind, which is the big focus here. But as to say there that sex is merely a material manifestation of gender, and gender is an overarching principle that manifests on all planes, mental, material, and spiritual. Another metaphorical way, or an allegorical way, maybe, correct me if I'm getting those words wrong, to describe that is that the element of fire does not mean fire physically as we think of it, but it describes heat and expansion and all of these different aspects of reality that have to do with that. Light, there's many, many more. However, just like the element of water has to do with cold, contraction, darkness, and all these other aspects. And then they have positive and magnetic polarities. There's a lot. So don't feel overwhelmed. This is a lifetime, maybe many lifetimes worth of study, and hopefully we've put a few in already. I feel like we might have. So the principle of gender does not mean sex. It's merely a manifestation of this principle, which can manifest as many things. It means relating to generation or creation. And whenever anything is generated or creation on any plane, the principle of gender must be manifested. I'm looking for my highlighter. I'm only finding this one. Whoa, it looks orange. It's actually pink to me. It's like totally pink. Yeah, I guess my shirt's more of a not that red either. Somebody said the kitten changes the white balance. They're probably right. But let's see, this is important here. Gender, see, sex is merely a material manifestation of gender. Gender means relating to generation or creation. Whenever anything is generated or created on any plane, the principle of gender must be manifested. And this is true even in the creation of universes. So some universes may have male and female attributes, characteristics. Now, very important, be very careful here. Do not jump to the conclusion that we are teaching that there is a male and female God or creator. That idea is merely a distortion of the ancient teachings on this subject. The true teaching from this perspective, we'll acknowledge that there's, many debatable ideas, but the true teaching from this perspective is that the all in itself is above gender. That principle is underneath and within the all and is the mental creation of the all, maybe. I'm saying maybe because I'm not certain that the Hermetic principles are also creations of the all, but that would be the only thing that makes sense because the principles exist within reality, and reality exists within the universe, and the universe exists within the mind of the all. So, the ancient teachings and the true teaching is that the all in itself is above gender, as it is above every other law, including those of time and space. It is the law from which the laws proceed, and it is not subject to them. But when the all manifests on the plane of gender or creation, then it acts according to the law and principle, for it is moving on a lower plane of being. And consequently, it manifests the principle of gender in its masculine, feminine aspects on the mental plane, of course. That makes me want to bring up this. On the very bottom here, we have the man and the woman and the androgynon in the middle there. As you can see, the man and the woman have the positive and negative polarities in the opposite positions on the head and in the downstairs area, as we'll put it. But the androgynon has none, has not the positive and negative polarities, which is interesting. I never noticed that before, honestly. That's probably a deep study in its own. However, this idea may seem startling to some of us who hear it for the first time. Well, they could say that for everything in this book. Disclaimer: everything mentioned in this book may seem startling to those hearing it for the very first time. But you have all really passively accepted it in our everyday conceptions, anyways. We speak of the fatherhood of God and the motherhood of nature, Mother Nature, of God, the divine Father, and the nature of the universal Mother, and have thus instinctively acknowledged the principles of gender in the universe. Is this not so? But the Hermetic teaching does not imply a real duality between the two. The all is one, important to remember. The two aspects are merely aspects of manifestation of the oneness. So we, finite beings, feel like we are separate from things, like I am this, and this is the chair, and that's the table, and these are plants, and none of this is separate. Or I'm sorry, other way around. None of this is connected to me, but really none of this is separate. We are all one, a part of the all. Experiencing it from this weird duality perspective that allows for the opportunity of survival and subconscious, all the things that we are doing here in life. However, do not jump to the conclusion that there is a male and female God or creator. We are talking about the all, and the all is one. And these two aspects are aspects of manifestation. The teaching is that the masculine principle, manifested or created by the all, stands in a way apart from actual mental creation of the universe. Interesting. This is new to me. So wait, the feminine, the mother, always having to do with begetting or creating or, quote unquote, giving birth to. Or if you look at Mother Nature, the creation of all of what we see. But also, I don't know, I'm going to continue before I ramble too much there. I'm just wondering if they're separating the masculine from the masculine principle apart from the actual mental creation of the universe. It projects its will towards the feminine principle, which may be called nature, where the feminine, or whereupon the latter begins the actual work of the evolution of the universe from simple centers of activity onto man. The phrase centers of activity was in parentheses there, onto man, and then on and on still higher, all according to well-established and firmly enforced laws of nature. There's a lot of laws and principles when it comes to the nature of reality, ladies and gentlemen. But this is amazing. Only another page or two. We're almost there. Once again, thank you for being here. I love and appreciate each and every one of you that spends time here with me in Hermes and Thoth, all the sages and philosophers, and in this case, the three initiates and William Walker Atkinson. This one, though, is new to me. It's to me, it sounds like, once again, using the principle of correspondence, as above, so below. So how does this work for us? Well, men have to give, or, we'll keep from getting too descriptive here, but we have to give to the women in order to create the process of creation of a child, right? And so is this being described here in the mental process using these aspects of gender, which is masculine principle and feminine principle, that the masculine must give of its will, or, of its essence toward, it projects of its will toward, and remember the positive being the expansive and the maybe the masculine being the expansive and the feminine being the contractive, or that which pushes out and that which receives. This can all be debated. There's a lot talked about in a lot of other books and philosophies about this. However, I'm just trying to get to some general personal understanding because I'm on this journey here with you, ladies and gentlemen, trying to figure it out. I'm just a beginner. But this is an important part, it seems, that the masculine principle projects its will towards the feminine principle, much in the way that we do here in physical reality, not using too much descriptive words, whereupon the latter begins the actual work of the evolution or the creation of the child, or in this case, the universe, from simple centers of activity onto man, and then on and on to higher planes of life and reality, all according to the enforced laws of nature. So if we prefer the old figures of thought, you may think of the masculine principle as God and the feminine principle as nature, the universal mother, God being the father. But this, I don't even like that. Cancel that. That can be taken the wrong way. But just as to understand it in stupid terms that have been misunderstood about spiritual philosophy and been called religion, the universal mother from whose womb all things have been born. This is more, see, that's the true nature. This is more than a mere poetic figure of speech. It is an idea of the actual process of the creation of the universe. But you won't get that in the simple church pews, so to speak. No disrespect, but this is esoteric knowledge that has been swept under the rug by the religions and dogmatic, spiritual, anyways, different subject. You know how I feel about that if you've been here before. The all is but one, and that in its infinite mind, the universe is generated, created, and exists. It may help us to get the proper idea if we will apply the law of correspondence to ourself and our own mind. You know that the part of us which we call I, in a sense, stands apart and witnesses the creation of our mental images in our own mind. The part of your mind in which the mental generation is accomplished may be called the me. This is why I love Hermetic philosophy, is because it teaches you the simplest practical psychological things that you need to understand to have a better experience in your life. If you've never realized before, no judgment. Nobody talks about this. Like you have to find it looking into spiritual philosophy and weird stuff. But if you've never heard before that there is an I and a me, like when you say I love myself or I hate myself, which is probably more common, unfortunately, who is the I that's hating the self? And who is the witness? It almost seems like there's three people here. But it's an important question because then you realize that you are not your thoughts. And you may not even be that which is witnessing your thoughts, but the witness to the witness. Now, this is a deeper question, but this saved a man's life by the name of Ram Dass, I believe. He was on a park bench. In the deepest depression, he was ready to kill himself. He said, and I do not mean to make light of this, so take this with a grain of salt. This is spiritual philosophy once again. But he realized that he was saying, I want to do this to myself. And he was like, who is this I? He had this instant enlightenment, as some may call it, but I just might call it a personal revelation or awareness of like, wait a minute. Screw this I that hates myself. Like, and so he came to this realization that the I and the self are separate. And too often we give way too much power and control over to the wrong side. The ego can make an excellent servant, but a very terrible master, as the old saying goes. So I'm going to highlight a little square around this entire paragraph because this is extremely important. This is an extremely important chapter, ladies and gentlemen. I'm glad you're joining me. But let me read through this now without interrupting. It may help us to get the proper idea if we will apply the law of correspondence to ourself and our own mind. We know that the part of us which we call I, in a sense, stands apart and witnesses the creation of mental images in our own mind. The part of our mind in which the mental generation is accomplished may be called the me, in distinction from the I, which stands apart and witnesses and examines these thoughts, ideas, and images of the me, as above, so below. Remember, and the phenomenon of one plane may be employed to solve the riddles of higher and lower planes. Is it any wonder that you, the child, feel that instinctive reverence for the all? For the all, which feeling that we eventually call religion. That respect and reverence for the father mind? Question mark. It is any wonder that when we consider the works and wonders of nature, that we are overcome with a mighty feeling which has its roots away down in our innermost being. It also ends that with a question mark. Is it the mother mind that you are pressing close up to, like a baby up to the breast? Do not make the mistake of supposing that the little world we see around you, the earth, which is a mere grain of dust in the universe, is the universe itself. There are millions upon millions of such realms, and even greater. And there are millions of such universes in existence within the infinite mind of the all. And even in our own little solar system, if that be the case, open to all possibilities here. Oh, I heard something wonderful yesterday because I'm always talking about I'm open-minded and being open-minded on this channel, being willing to consider multiple viewpoints, whether it's a world or a realm, or whether it's a solar system or whatever else you want to call it. Open-hearted. I think even more than open-minded. Because when you're open-hearted, you can have empathy. And you can begin to work together with those that you may disagree with their opinions, even if we're all open-minded. Because if we're all open-minded, we may come to really crazy differing opinions and then say, no, you're stupid about this, and you think the earth is flat, and you think it's just a ball, and you think this, and you think that. I think we need to be open-hearted. Open-hearted, and have compassion, and work together with humility and empathy for each other, for the betterment of each other. That comes to me from a Rush song yesterday. Rush is a great band. If you listen to their lyrics, they were really mystical. They knew something. However, so, the mind of the all. Even in the existence of our own little system here, there are regions and planes of life far higher than our own. And there are beings compared to which we earthbound mortals are as the simple, or are as the slimy life forms that dwell on the ocean's bed when compared to man. And the part that I have highlighted from a couple years ago, see, we're almost catching up to my personal bookmark here, is that there are beings with powers and attributes higher than man has ever dreamed of even the gods possessing. And yet these beings were once as you and me, and even still lower. And you will be, and we will be, ladies and gentlemen, even as they, and still higher in time, for such is the destiny of man, humanity, man and woman, as reported by the illumined. And death is not real. Even in the relative sense, it is but birth to a new life. And you shall go on, and on, and on, and on to higher and still higher planes of life. For aeons upon aeons of time, the universe is your home, and we shall explore its farthest recesses before the end of time. We are dwelling, ladies and gentlemen, within the infinite mind of the all, of God, and our possibilities and opportunities, woo, they are infinite, not finite, infinite living mind, both in time and space. And at the end of the grand cycle of aeons, when the all shall draw back into itself all of its creations, we will go gladly, for you will then be able to know the whole truth of being at one with God, or with the all. Such is the report of the ancients, the ancient illumined, those who advanced and have advanced well along the path. And in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, rest calm and serene, for we are safe and protected by the infinite power of the Father, Mother Mind, infinite living mind of the all. Wow. Wow. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. What a poetic finish to chapter number 5 of the Kybalion, the mental universe. The all is mind. The universe is mental. That was amazing, ladies and gentlemen. That is a boom to Hermetic philosophy and the nature of the universe. I just want to read that last bit again because that was so heartwarming. It feels good. It's like finally, I needed this message. And this message should be told to many of those, especially that fear of what may come after this life, or even what may still come in this life. There's so many of us that live in the fear of what happens when we pass and what has happened to those that have passed, and we hope the best. So I'll read again this last bit here. There are beings with powers and attributes higher than man has ever dreamed of the gods even possessing, and yet these beings were once as we are, and still even lower, and we will be even as they are, and still even higher. In time, for such is the destiny of man as reported by the illumined sages. And death is not real, even in the relative sense. It is but birth to a new life, and you shall go on, and on, and on, to higher and still higher planes of life. For aeons upon aeons, and eons upon eons of time, the universe is our home. It's your home. And you shall explore, and we shall explore its farthest reaches before the end of time. Because we are dwelling, ladies and gentlemen, within the infinite mind of the all, and our possibilities and opportunities are also infinite, both in time and space. And at the end of the grand cycle of eons, when God and the all shall draw back into itself all of creations, we will go gladly, for we will know and be able to know through experience the whole truth of being at one with God and the all. Such is the report of the illumined sages, those who have advanced well along the path. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, rest calm and serene, and know that you are safe and you are protected by the infinite power of the mind of the all, sometimes known as the Father-Mother mind. The Kybalion says, within the Father-Mother mind, mortal children are at home. There is no one who is fatherless nor motherless in the entirety of the universe. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a boom to the mental universe and the nature of God and the all and reality. Next week, we find ourselves on chapter number 6, entitled The Divine Paradox. Looks like it starts off with a good quote there, which is highlighted in square. Oh, next pages with a bunch of highlighting going on there. That means there was some good stuff, ladies and gentlemen. Here's a little taste. What Hermeticists know as the law of paradox is an aspect of the principle of polarity. Great. See, I always loved paradoxes, never realized it was an aspect of the principle of polarity. The Hermetic writings are filled with references to the appearance of the paradox and the considerations of the problems of life and being. And so while the all, the universe, must be unreal and illusionary, which is within the mind of the all, to the finite minds that we are, this goes with what we learned today, forming a part of that universe and viewing it through our mortal faculties, the universe is very real indeed and must be so considered. Wow. Those are the subjects we will go into next week, ladies and gentlemen, as we continue our series in researching the lost wisdom of the ages, the lost wisdom of the pharaohs, and I think the wisdom of the previous golden age that has hardly survived through the works of what has been credited to Hermes Trismegistus and the Egyptian sage god Thoth. With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, remember to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through greater awareness and understanding of the nature of ourselves, spirituality, psychology, and reality, so that through that increased awareness we can increase the quality of our lives and the lives of those around us. Remember, your life is made up of moments. So if we can increase the quality of one moment and then stack that up, and do that with effort, diligently, then we can create a higher quality of life. But we have to remember that there is no way to happiness, because happiness is the way. It is what we must create the ability within ourselves to bring to life, so that all those things we've been telling ourselves, oh, when I get this much, or I'll finally be happy, becomes irrelevant, because then we are there. And then finally, the entire journey is wonderful, hopefully. Also, remember, ladies and gentlemen, to seek to discover the lost wisdom of the ages and the mysteries of our history. All right, amazing. That was exciting and amazing, ladies and gentlemen. I sincerely hope you got value. I know I did. Consider subscribing, sharing this with somebody who is like-minded to help support the work that we do here. I have these books linked below the video in the video description box. Hit the more, expand it, and there will be an Amazon affiliate link. I make a few cents off those, so, nothing big. I want people to have physical copies. So if something goes down, if we're not too worried about survival in the situation, which may obviously be the case, however, we'll have these for reference. We just can't depend on everything being digital all the time. However, that's a different subject. So expand the description below the video to get these books for yourself. Easy for me to say, to put them on your shelf so you can follow along in future episodes of this series, as well as go back to reference the playlists that we've done in the past. And just for personal reference, it really makes you think. If you just want to sit out on the porch one day or at the park or whatever and go somewhere else with your mind, this kind of philosophy will definitely do that for you. And also, there will be a link to my Etsy shop and my landscape paintings, ladies and gentlemen. And also, finally, a link to C60 Power, the ultimate antioxidant known to man, Nobel Prize winning give yourself the gift of health. All right, I'll leave it there. I love and appreciate each and every one of you so much. Thank you so much. I really mean that. Time and attention is valuable. So the fact that you would spend your time and attention here with me means a lot to me. And I really hope and wish, sending you thoughts of favor, healing, health, revitalization, vitality, peace, and comfort to all of you and to all, even those that don't see this video. All right, with that being said, thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah, I already said that. Love and appreciate each and every one of you. Remember, be the change that you want to see. Be the example that you want to set. No, 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 no.